intentional happiness. I am an author, motivational speaker, life purpose consultant, and a Huffington Post blogger. And you can find more information about me at SuzanneAdamsAuthor.com, and the link will be below. Today I am so excited to welcome to you, okay, the scratch. All right.
Roaring engine, fire engine goes by.
So okay, here we go. So Ricky is known as the Happiness Guy. He is the author of Happiness Rocks. He was with NBC for 25 years, and now he also does various trainings for corporations and also has seminars on positive psychology and the science of happiness. So what a perfect guest for the first episode of Intentional Happiness. Welcome, Ricky.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, honor to have you. So Ricky, you're obviously someone who lives an intentional, happy life. And I guess what I just want to know is, what does intentional happiness mean to you exactly?
Well, so excellent question. And the thing is that, and it's very important to make this note, is that you can't be happy 100% of the time, right?
Very true, yes.
It's impossible. And as much as we'd love it, you know, part of what makes us human is the journey that we all take. And we've all been, most of us have been through a lot of pain in our lives. And to me, it's really how you handle that pain, what you do with it. You know, does it become a lesson, or do you make yourself a victim, right? So, so what I try to do is, you know, take that pain that I've been through and help people so that if they're going through the same thing, I help them understand a way to look at it so that they realize that it's a lesson, you know, and you can move on from that. And
so basically you're using the pain that you've had as an instrument to bring tools and to bring a softer path for other people.
Right. And you know, Jim Rohn was one of my favorite mentors. Jim Rohn was Tony Robbins' mentor all those years ago.
Wow.
And so I quote him all day long. He
Yeah.
said so many brilliant things, but one of my favorite quotes from him is, "Your personal philosophy is the greatest determining factor in how your life works out." And so for me, it's always been, there are no coincidences, right? I think everything happens for a reason.
Totally, I've always believed that, for sure.
And so sometimes when you're going through pain, you may not know what it means at the time, and then months or even years later, you may flash back and think, that's why I went through that experience. That's what it meant.
And it makes sense. And for me, and in my life, and a lot of the clients and people that I work with are able to look and see that it was all on purpose. And even when it's something that doesn't feel like there could be any kind of positive reason, the truth is when you're able to step back and look at things from that angle, you can really transform the way you live. And that's actually a very beautiful way to live with intentional happiness and inviting a brighter way and a different way to live.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. In your book, Happiness Rocks, you share your blueprint to master the art of lifelong happiness. So tell us about that, and what tips and tools from that blueprint can you share with the viewers today?
Right, so essentially what I did was I took the title, Happiness Rocks, I made it an acronym, and so each chapter highlights another tool to be used. So, for instance, the first H is happiness habits worth having, and then, you know, A is attitude, is gratitude, those types of things.
Yeah.
But when I'm speaking with corporations, companies, individuals, regardless of whether it's coaching or speaking from the stage, I always highlight my top three, which are serving others.
Okay, I'm going to repeat these so everyone can get them. Serving others.
Serving others. Second is forgiveness.
Forgiveness, that's a big one.
Right, and not just forgiving others, but forgiving yourself as well.
Yeah.
And then also the biggie really is gratitude.
Gratitude. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. So serving others. I know why I believe that's important. Why do you believe that's important to living happiness?
So several reasons. First of all, it's almost impossible not to feel better yourself when you're helping someone else.
Yes, that's such a great point. Yes.
Right? I mean, when you reach out your hand and you're helping someone else up, it's this empowering feeling that you know that you're making a difference in someone else's life. And it's not a selfish thing. I mean, you're selflessly helping someone, but just to see the reaction that they have and how it can change their lives, right?
And it almost kind of gives you purpose when you're operating from a level of service. Then how can I help and how can I serve? And really, I talk a lot about life purpose and how important I think that is. And I believe all of our life purpose has something to do with serving others and really figuring out who it is that you're here to serve and how you can use your unique gifts and your unique talents to serve others. So
absolutely.
I love that one.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And then forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Right. So forgiveness is so huge because we've all heard the term garbage in, garbage out, right? But what I heard once that I so resonated with is it's more like garbage in, garbage stays and festers and grows, and there's nowhere for it to go if you don't release it. And many times throughout life, we get in these interactions or someone will do something to us and we get angry or upset and we hold a grudge and we think, who needs you or whatever, but when you hold on to that anger, really, of course, the only one you're punishing is yourself, because chances are that person really doesn't care anyway.
Right, right.
And so I help people understand really that the greatest gift you can give yourself is to forgive and just let it go.
Because when you're right, when you harbor resentment in your heart, that's like you're saying, is you're building this animosity, and it's really hindering your energy and your ability to attract in what it is that you want. So I think that that's really true. And something that you mentioned earlier is forgiving yourself. And I think that's one that a lot of us are really easy to forget, because you can work all day long of forgiving the person you may not want to forgive at that moment, but that being at the forefront of your mind. But truly, if you don't forgive yourself for eating the candy bar or not going to the gym or the mean thing that slipped out of your mouth, is the same resentment and animosity toward yourself can build up, and that can even be, like you said, very detrimental.
Yeah, even more detrimental than harboring anger about someone else when you do it to yourself. So that little voice inside of us can be either our best friend or our worst enemy.
So how do you teach people that maybe need help with forgiveness? Do you have an exercise or a practical tip that you could share?
First of all, there's a book called Radical Forgiveness that a friend recommended to me, and it was phenomenal because I had been talking about forgiveness all these years and kind of thought, I knew so much, and but when you can go so much further. And so it's called Radical Forgiveness, and there are exercises that you can do where you can write it down and really let it go and go deep. And so forgiveness, it's something that's very scalable, right? I mean, you can start with the easier stuff and just, think of a person or a situation that you need to let go of, but then you just go through the exercise of closing your eyes, really visualize it, and then let it go.
And I think what you said is really powerful, is to close your eyes and feel the feeling of forgiveness. And I do a lot of workshops and retreats, and one of the exercises that I'll often have the guests and the clients do is actually to write a forgiveness letter to themselves.
Yes, right.
Because maybe that you might write one to someone else. And another thing is no one has to read this letter. Even if you're writing it to someone else, you can still clear the energy and clear and create space in your heart just from simply writing. But writing a forgiveness letter to yourself. So if you're watching, I want to challenge everyone to take 10 or 15 minutes, and even if you think that there's really nothing that you need to forgive yourself for, just to tune in and do that. And like Ricky said, to close your eyes and just feel it. And I think that that's a great way just to open up the channel to bring in more positivity and to bring in more happiness.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Of course.
Okay, so then the third step, the third tip that's your favorite is gratitude. Of course.
And not just being grateful for the big things, but for the little things as well. So, the flowers.
Oh my gosh, are they beautiful?
The gorgeous,
I just want to rub them.
I know, the gorgeous flowers that are sitting there. Yeah. Just literally every breath you take, we tend to forget day to day and moment to moment how fragile life is. And we've all heard the expression, tomorrow's not guaranteed. Well, you know what? Your next moment is not guaranteed. Part of what got me on this whole path was losing my best friend at the age of 23. And, he was such an angel, this kid, and would give you the shirt off his back. He never smoked, didn't take a drug, ever, and yet he was gone in an instant. And it was a hard thing. And so, you just have to appreciate every second that you're here, because every second really is a gift, and that's how I view life.
Yeah, and you know, I want to share a story. When I was flying, I live in Atlanta, and we're in LA right now. And when I was flying out here, Delta 2 days ago had just had their computer crash, and it was a mess. And you know, Delta's the big airline in Atlanta, and it was just, the airport was backed down. They lost millions and millions of dollars. And when I checked in, I said to the woman, "I guess you're having a better day today than you've had the past couple of days." And she looked at me and she said, "You know, every day you can take a breath is a good day." And I said, "I totally agree, and I'm so happy to hear that." And she said, "I didn't always feel this way, but
Wow.
I had breast cancer and I won." And she said, "I wake up every single day now and I say, every day that I'm awake and I'm breathing is a good day." And I thought, this is such a powerful moment, because here she is, and that, you know, it was just a disaster for the airlines, and she just still had this amazing attitude. So
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. In 2007, I found out that I had been walking around for 2 weeks with a ruptured appendix.
Ooh.
And I went to the ER. I woke up really sick, violently ill, went to the ER. They sent me home. They chalked it up to food poisoning and sent me home. And I walked around with this dull pain and went to the doctors, and they checked me out and sent me home again and went back again. And finally they said, "We have to admit you immediately." And I spent 6 days in the hospital, you know, recovering for that, but that could have killed me in an instant.
Could have killed you. Did you kind of know in your gut that something was up when they were sending
Well,
you home?
yeah, when they were sending me home, and this dull pain just wouldn't go away. So thank God I was one of a small number of cases where it had walled itself off, all the toxins. And so that's what kept me alive. But I was so grateful, and to my surgeon for coming in and pulling out, you know, the next day what little stub of an appendix I had left.
Yeah.
And yeah, you never know.
You don't ever know.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to ask you is, so tell us about how you transform businesses by facilitating a structured culture of happiness. I think that is really interesting and something that we need in corporate America. We need a lot more positivity and positive psychology and just beings of light and happiness coming into corporate America. So first of all, thank you for what you're doing.
Of course, my pleasure.
And second of all, tell me a little bit about that.
So literally just today, I reposted a new friend of mine's article on that very subject. And she also is an author and writes about happiness and success and all of that, and speaks for corporations. And it's not just, you know, these few of us who are individuals talking about this. Gallup did research, and America is losing billions of dollars a year because of employee unhappiness and, you know, unengaged or disengaged employees. And so most corporations, as she said, you know, there's no line item in their P&Ls for employee unhappiness or disengagement, and if they have that line in there, instantly every single company would be signing up to have these seminars and workshops. It's that important.
Right. And I really believe, I study a lot about the law of attraction and how we're all energetic beings and we have a vibration. And I believe that a lot of unhappy people have a lower vibration. And from a corporate standpoint, if you can have happy employees that are elevating and carrying that positive energy, then that's going to affect the bottom line of the corporation all day long. And I think it will really help just to serve the masses on a big level, the more people that understand these principles and understand these tools and bring them into their life. So that's great.
And so, for instance, I just spent the last 2 months doing 10 corporate on-sites in a row. Everyone from the United States Navy on conflict resolution and confrontation management, to Social Security Administration on advanced business writing, and all of these different topics on communication, all of it. And no matter what subject I was teaching, I always wove in, you know, the happiness equation and how important it is to have engaged, happy employees. And so, you know, someone reached out to me and said, "I'd love to have you come in and do a few workshops, you know, maybe a few weeks in a row, training our employees on all of this and on relationships and habits of positive people and, you know, all of that." And so now I'm starting to do that. It can be really life-changing for not just the employees there, but for the whole business, because they've determined that happy employees are more creative, higher productivity, lower absenteeism, lower turnover rate, all of these metrics backing all of this up.
I think that's beautiful, and I think that what I've found just being out in the community and doing, giving inspirational talks or doing workshops is that people are hungry for this information. And do you find that at the corporations, or are the people interested and want to know?
Many are, and then there are some who just are not.
Right, or they're not ready.
No, I've also, spoken to literally one who, of course, shall remain nameless, but I'll never forget, he said to me, Ricky, I just don't get this whole happiness thing. I think it's fuzzy and fluffy, and there's just no place for it here. And I thought, okay, next.
Right.
Because why, I'm not going to beat my head against a wall trying to cram that down someone's throat. Either you get it or you don't.
Yeah, of course. I totally agree with that. So, well, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're not all just born happy, and we're not always all happy, and we don't just float on a cloud being happy all day.
Right.
So I'm guessing there was probably a turning point in your life that put you on this trajectory. So what was that?
I think really what it was that my first 9 years at NBC were very challenging because of a coworker that I was working with. Very challenged in the happiness department. This guy was a kind of a sociopath, really.
Okay.
Very dangerous to work with, and in an effort to help him and help myself through it, I picked up my first book on the subject of happiness by Dennis Prager. Happiness is a serious problem, and of course he wanted nothing to do with it, but I took it and ran with it. I read every book I could on the subject. I went to every program, every seminar. And finally, I helped charter Toastmasters at NBC Universal and became the president. And started doing outside public speaking and competing and all of that. And it was life-changing for me. And ultimately, they ended up, getting rid of that guy. And I went on another 17 years. And it's the best thing I've ever done.
That's amazing. And I think it's really important to just kind of take note of that. And we all have these different instances in our lives that lead us to searching for more and searching for meaning and searching for happiness. And for you, it sounds like being in that unpleasant situation on an everyday basis is kind of what triggered you to search for more.
Right.
So really what I want the people listening is to take a few minutes and think, like, what is it in your life that you're really unhappy about? What is the void in your stomach where you're just thinking like there has to be more? And oftentimes that is the universe leading you to the path that can bring in more intentional happiness into your life.
Right.
Do you agree?
Absolutely. And also it's the way you're looking at these challenges. So it's very easy to get into, say, victim mentality and feel sorry for yourself. And people would ask me all the time, how do you, because I worked with him for 9 years. And this giant bully, for 9 years, and people would ask me all the time, how do you do it? And I was not going to be bullied out of the best job that I'd ever had. Okay. It was my livelihood at that time. And I just, again, I looked at it as a gift. And in terms of forgiveness, I hold no ill will against him, because now I know why I went through that was really to turn my life around and discover this whole topic and find truly my life's purpose is serving other people. For all those years I was helping producers put every show on the air for the network, but now I really feel like I get to serve on a much bigger level with a much more important topic.
Beautiful. And that's what I love about when people align with their purpose is you can look back on the circumstances and the situations with gratitude and with understanding, and just really knowing and trusting that there is a greater divine plan and it is all on purpose. And I think that is a beautiful story.
Thank you.
So, and we may have kind of already touched on this, but what is the most important tool that you have implemented in your life to attract more success and joy?
The most important tool, I think probably this ridiculously strong ability to be persistent.
Yes.
Right? So,
yes, you have to be persistent no matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
You cannot give up. Sure, you've heard it before, but it's so true, Suzanne.
Yes.
I mean, you just can't give up. people will beat you down, there will be naysayers, people will tell you that you can't do it, and well-intentioned people,
right,
you know?
right.
I mean, people who really feel like they're doing you a favor, saying, oh, you don't want to do that, or whatever.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you know deep in your heart that you're supposed to be doing something, you know, you've got to go for it.
You have to believe it. Okay, I love this tool, and I teach a lot of new authors or a lot of new people that want to craft a story and they don't really know where to start or what to do. And the thing that I share is that if you have the desire to share your story or to do something, to whatever it is, then you're meant to do that, and you do have to really tap into that intuitive part of yourself and connect to that and know that that's what you're born to do. And there will be naysayers, and that's when you set boundaries and step away and find the people in the support system that will lift you up and help you. And I think that is a great tool and a very, very powerful one. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely, certainly. Yeah.
Okay, so do you meditate?
Well, I must tell you that meditation, I have meditated and I really do enjoy it. I have to say, you know, full disclosure,
please be honest.
I am guilty of not meditating as much as I know that I should.
Okay.
And so, you know, I've got it on my list, honestly, that I really do need to start doing that daily. Well,
and I'm a big believer in meditation, and I think it's different for everyone. For me, it's really, really important, and I saw massive shifts in my life when I committed to a daily meditation practice. But meditating doesn't have to just be sitting still and listening. It can be writing, it can be exercising, it can be whatever it is when you're just so involved in what you're doing that you're not focusing on anything else.
Right.
So I was just curious. I always am interested in everyone's meditation practice, and I think it's also important to not be hard on yourself for not meditating, but just understanding that is another tool where you can really open up your channels and open up your connection and attract even more happiness. So you have to let me know how it goes.
Right, I will. Yeah.
So Ricky, tell us what is next for you. I know that you said you're starting a company.
Right, so Successponential is the new company that I'm starting, and I have to apologize, you know, up front, because I took down my Lifelong Happiness website. I'm retooling it right now, and then also creating the Successponential website.
Great.
And essentially, so I'm going to continue doing corporate trainings for companies who really do want to get a hold of this material and help their employees boost their happiness levels and engagement levels.
That's beautiful.
And also, though, I really so resonate with entrepreneurs, with that whole world out there, and I've met so many who have become really close friends over the years. So I'm also going to be starting 2 virtual mastermind groups, one under Lifelong Happiness, one under Successponential, and even fusing them together so that people can be a part of both communities.
Amazing.
Right, and dial in for calls on a weekly basis and get help from the whole community in terms of, you know, whether it's relationships or business or wherever in between.
Yeah.
You know, they may be feeling stuck. It's really important, I think, to offer them the support, and that's what I'll be doing.
Okay. Yay, congratulations.
Thank
I can't wait to learn more.
Thank you so much.
Is there anything else that you want to share with our viewers, or anything else that I did not ask you that you would like to talk about?
Let me think. I think, you know, just in terms of what we were talking about with the victim, it's easy to be a victim and all of that. You know, one of my favorite examples that I sometimes will talk about is Nick Vujicic. So he was born with no arms and no legs.
Wow.
Many people already know about him. Tried to commit suicide at the age of 8. If you can imagine how painful that must have been growing up as a child like that, because we know how cruel, you know, kids can be, just, you know, for anyone who is
how do you live if you don't have arms or legs?
I know. And yet, he decided that he wanted to be an international speaker. And, you know, he came home and he said to his parents one day, "Mom, Dad, you know, I know what I want to be." And they said, "What?" He said, "I want to be a speaker." And they looked at him and said, "How is that possible? How can that even happen?" And, you know, believe it or not,
he's the best person in the world to be a speaker.
Yeah, exactly. And now literally he travels all over the world. He's an internationally renowned speaker. I had the pleasure of meeting him very close to where I live, actually, and commands, I think, $30,000 a speech, you know, for an hour or something like that. He's helped so many people and has programs for kids, and he has a religious program. He has so many different things. But it just goes to show you, I many times will use him as an example, because if you ever begin to feel sorry for yourself, you know, you just, have to think about him and the way he lives life, and no one devours life and lives life with a more positive attitude, you know, than he does. And so,
that's a really beautiful example, and it is so true. And talk about someone aligning with their life purpose. I mean, obviously that was a big part of what he was born to do, and the fact that he was able to do that, and look at him now, and what an inspiration to so many that is.
Yeah. And again, all of us, it's not like, oh, who's had more pain or less pain or any of that.
At all.
You know, you have gone through your own journey. You know, whoever is watching or listening, we all have our own journeys. And that's another thing too, is that when you're having a tough day or you come across someone who you think has a bad attitude or is just not acting very nicely, if it's in a restaurant situation, wherever it may be, you know, rather than reacting to that person in a defensive manner or taking it personally, you know, you really don't know what journey they've been through and what's happened for them that day. So one thing I also suggest is just, you know, take it easy. Go easy on them and just chalk it up to, you know, they're having a bad day.
It's not about you, it's about them. That's what I always do in that scenario. When someone's projecting onto you, just remembering that people act on the outside the way they feel on the inside, and just knowing like they must be having a really bad day. And you know, a big purpose of this show and my books and the work that I do is I believe that we're all experiencing an opening and awakening to greater meaning and greater purpose, and some people have to go through the terrible pain and the addictions or the loss to get there, and my goal with what I would like to do is try to open people up to their own divinity and to higher purpose through conversations like this, and through different, you know, my books or courses and things like that, because I do believe that you can get the lessons and you can invite a lot of intentional happiness into your own life simply just by being aware that you are a powerful creator and that you can create really anything that you want if you can just do the few tools. And it's really simple if you just commit to it.
It is. And another thing Jim Rohn used to say is, you know, it's simple to do. The thing to watch out for is it's also simple not to do. So you have to push yourself.
That's true. It's it is a commitment and a daily practice for sure. Well, Ricky, it has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suzanne,
for joining us
awesome
today. Yes, and thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.